racing now. I wish I win from last. A spectacular TJ win. Giga kick down the outside, wins the Everest. Shinzo and Ryan Moore have drawn clear to win the Golden Slipper.
With Tim Gilbert and Julie Snook, this is Racing Dreams.
Hello and welcome to Racing Dreams. I love this day, Jules. Epsom Day, 3 Group 1s, so much to play out in the Everest as well.
It is a very big day of racing here in Sydney. Good morning to you and good morning to you at home. It is a beautiful day here in Sydney as well. Grand final weekend, it is all happening. You want to be watching sport all weekend long. Sounds like heaven to me.
Absolutely. Let's have a look at the show. Back where he belongs. I catch up with champion jockey Tommy Berry, who's back in the saddle after 7 long months away from the game.
Plus, I take you on a tour of Arrowfield Stud, the home of New Zealand's newly crowned champion sire, Brazier.
And no hoof, no horse. I visit the magnificent Arrowfield Stud and catch up with the man who makes sure horses' feet are magnificent themselves.
This racing update is brought to you by Bet365, the world's favourite online betting brand.
Imagine what you could be buying instead.
Well, what a day it is at Royal Randwick. I mentioned before 3 Group 1s with the Epsom, of course, over the famous Randwick Mile.
Of course, the Premier Stakes is the last chance for potential Everest runners to show they should be right there in a fortnight. It is just 14 days away. There are still 4 spots available. Daily Telegraph journalist Shane O'Cass joins us from the newsroom to talk all things racing. Good morning, Shane.
Good morning, Julie. Morning, Timmy. Well, it's grand final weekend in the footy codes, but it's probably the semi-finals for horse racing because, as you mentioned, this is really the last stop for any horse that wants to force its way into the Everest in a couple of weeks' time because the field is almost set. It's not completely set. There's still a few little things that have to happen in between then and acceptance time, but it's getting very close. You wouldn't want to be left out without a horse.
Yeah, and it's a great day of racing as well. The Gym Crack, the Breeders' Plate for the 2-year-olds. You've got the Epsom Mile, you've got the Flight Stakes, the Dulcify, the Metrop, and of course the Premier. It's a huge day.
Absolutely. Well, I suppose you mentioned the 2-year-olds, all of them having their first start today. Some of these owners would be going to the races thinking, are they going to be in Golden Slippers and Everest in years to come? And they look a pretty good bunch, actually. And obviously with the Epsom and the Metrop, very historic races, a big mile and a big 2,400-metre handicap that could have repercussions for later in the spring, even Melbourne Cups and things like that. But I do think most eyes will be on the Premier because, as I say, there's some horses in there that really have to step up if they're going to get into the Everest. And of course, we've got the Everest favourite going around in the race as well. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes right across the board.
Well, let's talk about the Everest. And of course, during the week, 2 shock announcements with the reigning champion Giga Kick and also Sunshine in Paris both ruled out.
It's very terrible for Sunshine in Paris's connections because obviously she forced her way into the Everest with that brilliant win over Espiona, and you just wonder how they'll feel if Espiona makes the Everest and wins it, knowing that they beat that horse so easily in the Scirocco. But look, it's not a career-ending injury by any means. I mean, she'll have a spell and she'll be back bigger and better in the autumn, and who knows what she'll do from there. But you know, to come so close to getting into an Everest and then to not be there is such a shame for everybody.
Yeah, and Godolphin have 2 runners, of course. James Harron, he's picked up, he has the Midas touch, doesn't he, like Giga Kick last year. And Cylinder's run last week looked fantastic, and Cylinder will run in the James Harron bloodstock slot in the Everest.
Absolutely. Well, Cylinder's greatest quality, I suppose, is his bravery. Look, he had a pretty torrid run there in the Golden Rose, but he kept fighting. He was the same at Caulfield first up. A lot of people were saying that he was disappointing, but he was just so brave. I mean, he wasn't 100%. He's the type of horse who could get into the Everest, and all Godolphin horses in the past have run well, even some of the horses that people haven't given much chance to. So they're trained to the minute, and Cylinder's the type of horse who could definitely beat more home than him because he's got such a big ticker.
What about the Moya last night, Imperatriz? It is so hard to believe that we will not see Imperatriz in the Everest.
It's absolutely incredible when you think about it. She's broken 2 course records, her own, by the way, in 2 starts, over 1,000 metres at Moonee Valley. Look, I'd love to see her there. I think every racing fan in Australia and New Zealand would like to see her there because given that she's beaten Giga Kick and she's just such an incredible mare, she's got the best turn of foot in racing just about, you would wonder how she wouldn't be in the finish in the Everest. But apparently, look, the owners, they own the horse. They want to keep her in Victoria and it's up to them what they do. But unless there's some offer too good to refuse that comes out from some shareholder that we don't know about, she's not going to be in the Everest.
And Coolmore's still positive about Shinzo, aren't they? I mean, it was first up. It was a very difficult task, wasn't it, to go first up and compete? And you sort of mentioned that if it had won last week and won the Everest and 14 million in 3 races, it did seem lofty ambition.
Well, in some respects, that's a little bit unfair, Timmy. I mean, the horse was running on at the right time. He drew wide and he was always going to have to go back. He started to make ground at the top of the straight, and from the 400 to the 200, he looked like he was going to be in the finish. But subsequently, he dropped out, or he didn't finish off. They had a vet inspection. He was graded 2-5 lame. So, I mean, that's a pretty significant excuse for the horse. Apparently, he's pulled up pretty well after that. The farriers have gone over him. He's no problem. He's on a trial on Tuesday in probably the best barrier trial heat you've ever seen at Rose Hill. He's up against horses like In Secret and Buenos Noches, Overpass. So we're going to know more on Tuesday. I'd be very forgiving of the horse in the Golden Rose. It was a big ask, of course, but look, when you're 2.5 lame, I think you can go home with an excuse.
Yeah, just quickly, also Gay Waterhouse is very confident that she'll get 2 runners in the Everest, Hawaii 5-0 and alcohol-free, of course, running in today's Premier. But don't forget, Lost and Running. John O'Shea's Lost and Running is in the Premier too. You just never know.
Yeah, and that's the thing, Jules. The other year, like last year, obviously you got scratched before the Everest, but the year before performed poorly in the shorts, did well in the Premier and came 4th in the Everest. Shane.
Well, I don't know why people aren't talking about Lost and Running. I know you can look at the form guide and see that he was a bit disappointing first up, but he was 5 and 6 wide the whole way. He won the Premier last year. He ran 4th in the Everest, as you mentioned. He was favourite for the Everest a year ago, but was scratched on the morning of the race. So, look, it's all up to Lost and Running today. He probably has to win, but he's a pretty good horse.
What about you last week with Militarize? You finally turned the corner. You finally turned the corner.
Well,
and Julie and I, neither of us listened to you. Oh, yeah, there it is. Militarize winning. We're a bit done for time. Have you got a tip? Can you get us back in the winners list again today?
Yeah, I do, Timmy. I'll stick with Chris Waller in the Metrop. Mr. Waterville, race 9, number 17. I really think this horse will make the Melbourne Cup field, so let's look out for him today. No weight, peaks today.
There you go. Write that one down. Shana Cass, always a pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks very much.
This racing update is brought to you by Bet365, the world's favourite online betting brand.
Imagine what you could be buying instead.
Well, they say a change is as good as a holiday, and Tommy Berry has had a huge change this year after his extended ban from riding. And he admits while the circumstances weren't ideal, Timmy, the break was exactly what he needed.
Yeah, it certainly has been a time of reflection and hard work on a turf farm, Jules.
Quite the contrast.
Absolutely. Tommy's got a strong book of rides today after returning to the saddle at Rose Hill on Wednesday, and I went out to see him. Oh, absolutely love Rose Hill Gardens. This is where I grew up, this place. And Tommy Berry, you're back. How good is it to be back?
Yeah, no, it's great, Tim. I've missed the place quite a bit, but it was, not going to lie, it was nice to get away for a little bit and spend some time with my family and just get away from the industry. But it's a great industry, and I've been welcomed back with open arms, and it's very exciting spring ahead. You
put a lot of thought into. I read your Instagram post, and you thanked a lot of people, and it's amazing when you're away from something how much you appreciate how good it is.
Yeah, it is, and I didn't expect to have to thank that many people, but there was a lot of people that helped me get back to where I am today, and a lot of people that helped me with the time I was off and fill that time up. And I had some great experiences, met some really good people, and found out a bit about myself as well. So that was quite important, but nice and fresh now and ready to go.
How did you get the weight off? You're pretty good with that though, aren't you, Tommy, most times?
Oh, I wasn't when I was off. I got up a bit over 70 kilos, so I've taken off 14 kilos in the last 10 weeks. Hasn't been easy, but I've done it the right way and feeling really good about it. So there's a place down the road called Build a Body, and they started from scratch there, and they've done a great job.
Well, you got a good book of rides on Saturday. Let's talk about Marzu, because you're going to ride Marzu in the Everest as well in the shorts the other week. They were happy, the Snowdens, and here he is in the Premier Stakes.
Yeah, look, on face value, I was a little bit disappointed watching it, but once you go back and watch his Stewart film and then look at the sectionals, he couldn't have run home any quicker than he did, and he was first up, and he already had a slot, so he was by far not wound up, I should say, to where he's got to be. It's going to be a long road ahead, but by the time he gets to Everest Day, I'm sure he'll be ready.
Got the Breeders' Plate and the gym crack, and you've got an exciting 2-year-old, you're on?
Yeah, look, the filly, she's a lovely filly. She's come on a lot since her trial, and I worked on Tuesday morning and couldn't be any happier with her. And the colt, Bodyguard, he's drawn out wide, so it's going to be a tricky task from there, but he's a quality colt. Whatever he does, his prep, he'll be better next prep.
How nice is it to come back in the spring? The weather's beautiful and the racing just amazing.
Yeah, it is, and I guess that's what made it easy to get the weight off and do it the right way. You're not coming back over winter time when it's cold and the racing's not as good. It's the best time of year, springtime, and I've got some nice rides coming up. So just really glad to be back and a part of it, and yeah, be here with my family. It's been great.
And you did some work, some real work. I'm not saying that the work you do isn't real work on the horse. You work real hard, but out there on the tools. Tell us about that.
Yeah, no, it was a different kind of work, as you said. It was they were long hours, 10-hour days, 5 days a week out at evergreen turf, and I really enjoyed my time out there. One thing I did enjoy about it is your job finished at 4 o'clock and you didn't have to think about it till the next day, which is very unlike what it's like racing. It's 24/7 racing, it's your life, but it is something that I missed after being away from it for a while. But great experience out there with the boys and guys that I'm going to be able to call friends for a very long time.
How'd you cope with all the babysitting?
No, I didn't mind it, actually. I think they were sick of me by the end. They loved having me home at the start, but I think they couldn't wait to get rid of me now. So they're all here today for my first day back, and they're excited to see Dad doing what he loves doing again.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I know you've got to duck off there, starting to parade, but Graham from Evergreen, I know him well. He's giving you the hat. There it is, Tommy. Tommy's back.
Yeah, no, Tommy's back, so let's go.
Yeah, huge day today for Tommy Berry, and he's on Marzu, so a lot of people will be watching that. Now, it was once said, it's amazing what the outside of a horse can do to the inside of a person. You can't work in this industry if you don't love the athlete, and that is the horse. And that is not only when it's racing, but the career and life that follows.
Yeah, many go into the equestrian world, and this week marks the inaugural Equi Million event at the Sydney International Equestrian Centre. Graham Hinton from Racing New South Wales joins us from out there now. Good morning to you, Graham.
Good morning, guys. Thanks for having me.
Tell us about this initiative, Graham.
Look, this is Equi Million. This is the first year, and Racing New South Wales, we've partnered with Equestrian Australia and put up $1 million of prize money. It's going to be given away this weekend at the Sydney International Equestrian Centre to 310 registered retired thoroughbred racehorses, and I can tell you there's some very excited people out here today.
Yeah, absolutely. Tell us why it was so important for Racing New South Wales to come up with this initiative and really showcase what the retired thoroughbred racehorse can do and support that sector.
Look, the vast majority of our owners rehome their horses into this space anyway. It's a very common thing to do for an equestrian participant actually to pick one straight out off the track as they retire. But what we wanted to do is to make sure that aftermarket was strong. And we know within racing, the best way to motivate people is to grow the market and grow demand, and a bit of prize money makes a big difference. So today, each of the classes, there's 42 classes over the weekend. The winner of each class will get $15,000 cheque and down to $1,000 for fifth place. And what we're going to see is that's going to motivate people to buy these thoroughbred racehorses and keep that demand in the equestrian space really, really strong.
And we're going to see it all happen, aren't we? We're going to see eventing, we're going to see dressage, we're going to see a bit of jumping, cross-country.
100%. There is 100 things going on out here. There's all the equestrian sports, but also we've got rides for the kids. We've got face painting. There's pony rides. There's food trucks. It's free entry, and it'll be a great day out for the family. So anyone that's watching at home and you think you need something to do with the kids over the weekend, there's no better way to come out here, witness a bit of the stars of the turf living their new life, and have a bit of fun as well.
Yeah, you can see some of the hacking classes taking place there behind you, the lead classes. And I don't think people realise, Graham, racehorses like, let's say, Nature Strip, who will be at Royal Randwick today leading out those in the Premiere. But Nature Strip has now moved on to his new life, and he'll be doing exactly what you're doing today.
No, spot on. We hope he's out here next year competing. Interesting story. Eduardo's actually in one of our show horse classes today. So he's an absolute rookie in this world, but he's out here to learning the ropes, and he's going to progress through the grades in the equestrian world just like he did on the racetrack. I think we've got a Villiers competing later over the weekend, so it's going to be a big weekend out here. And as a racing fan, there's plenty of horses where you get to see your favourites of the turf out here in their new life.
And it's important, isn't it, Graham? We always say this to reiterate, and and let our message get out there to people that horses, whether they are young, racing or old, are all treated well, all treated the same.
Absolutely, and it just comes from that underlying love of the horse that exists right through the racing industry, and I can tell you it certainly exists in the equestrian world as well. There's people out here that, you know, they've readied their horse for this weekend for the past 9 months or more, looked after it, it's had acupuncture, it's had a masseuse, it's had its hair washed. So the love is there, and as long as that's there, the horse is always going to be well looked after, and this is just what's on display today.
I don't know if you've ever tried your hand at showing horses, Timmy, but I tell you what, the braiding process, the makeup that goes on to these guys, it's longer than me and you.
Don't worry.
Hair and makeup.
I see it at my house nearly every weekend, but it's not me doing it. Take a look at me. I don't think that, I love the horses, but I've never actually been on top of a horse. Graham, so look, exciting for Racing New South Wales. It's the start of something big.
That's exactly right. And a final point from me, we want to thank the industry for getting behind the initiative. We come up with an idea a few months ago that the participants in the industry might want to sponsor a few horses in the competition. We've had over 100 sponsored riders compete that are race clubs, studs, trainers, owners. People just wanted to get behind this concept, and it's just fantastic to see the industry back in such a great idea.
Yeah, we spoke to your ambassador, Bianca, recently, and she was just so excited about this event and said the response had just been huge. So good luck to you and the team out there. We'll see you in a fortnight trackside ahead of the Everest, but today it is all about Equi Million, and we hope the event goes well.
Thanks, guys. All the best.
Coming up after the break, we meet the team at Arrowfield Stud, who are celebrating their newly crowned New Zealand champion sire,
Prazzy.
Welcome back to Racing Dreams. It's great to have your company. Well, it's a beautiful day, if not a little windy here at Rose Hill, and I'm joined by one of Australia's elite trainers, Annabelle Neesham. Annabelle, how are you?
Good, thanks, Tim.
I've got to start with the bad news first, because we spoke to you just a couple of weeks ago on the show, and sunshine in Paris, looking fantastic, got a slot in the Everest. What's happened?
Yeah, very frustrating, but she's picked up a really it's only a minor injury, but you know, going into these leading races, you've got to be 110% fit. So, unfortunately, we've had to pull stumps with her and on this campaign, and she's going to have a break. So, pretty gut-wrenching because, you know, the Everest is the race that we all want to have runners in.
Tough for the whole team too, isn't it, Annabelle? We often talk about the Everest and its dimension and the chess game and everything that goes in. But for you and your team who work inhospitable hours, it's difficult for everyone. Yeah,
and everyone was so pumped, you know, the whole team back home. When she got that slot, you know, they were all so excited, and we saw the form franked with Espionia winning on Saturday just gone. So, yeah, I'm disappointed for the whole team. It's a big team behind. You know, it takes a lot of work to get these horses to the races in peak condition, and we've got a fantastic team at home. So, yeah, gutted for them, but hopefully she'll be back here in the race next year. Absolutely, it's resilience, isn't it? You have to have a little bit of resilience in this game. Yeah, you soon learn to have resilience pretty quickly, that's for sure.
All right, now looking at the big meeting, the big Epsom meeting, you've got one in the Epsom. Tell us about that.
Yeah, my Oberon, he's top weight, which is never easy. We did manage to do it with top ranked last year. He won with top weight, so it is doable. We've got a bit of a tricky barrier 18, but he's a really good horse. He went down in a photo finish to Mr. Brightside in the Doncaster, which obviously a Group 1 mile handicap at Randwick, so we're back in the same sort of a race. Would have maybe preferred a bit more rain around. He's definitely better on a rain-affected track, but I think he's one of the class runners in the field. Finally, a couple of each-way chances in the Metropolitan? Yeah, very much so. We've got Spirit Ridge, normally carries top weights in races, so nice to get him into a race for 52.5, but obviously, you know, Group 1 level, it's a stronger race, but he's a really honest horse. Ran second in the Newcastle Cup and third in the Wyon Cup in his last 2 runs, and then we've got Bois d'Argent, who's really a similar horse, comes with similar form lines, drawn a little bit kinder than Spirit Ridge. He's drawn in 10, and he's got a nice lightweight, 53.5 as well. So the favourite is probably going to have to fall over for everyone to win. The favourite looks a very good horse, but excited to be a part of it, and yeah, there's certainly 2 genuine each-way hopes. Thanks, Annabelle. All the best for the rest of the spring. Thank you.
Yeah, well, Sydney's $87 million Everest Carnival is well and truly underway with a huge day of racing at Royal Randwick today. From the Epsom to the Medtrop, the sprinters in the Premier Stakes, and of course, the babies, the 2-year-olds. It's so exciting.
Someone who has an interest right across the day is Henry Phil from Newgate Farm, and as well as that, he's not taking this smile off his face because militarised last week. I was about 3 paces from you, Henry, and you were jumping up and down like you just won lotto.
Yeah, it was very exciting. We didn't expect him to win from where he was at the 300. It was in more trouble than the Wallabies here, as you can see at the 300.
Not that bad.
Not that bad. No one's that bad.
He managed to weave a passage, and it was an unbelievable performance to reel off huge fractions the last furlong and win in impeccable fashion.
And to have Ja Morera here for the ride as well, he's now taken him to 3 Group 1s. He said, I'm not leaving this horse, I'm sticking with him. It just says so much that he's willing to come out here and ride this guy.
Yeah, he came back for the purpose of riding this horse. He rode him obviously so successfully in the autumn, winning the Sage Produce and the Champagne Stakes. And I've never seen a more confident jockey than Saturday with Joe Morera. He walked out into the mounting enclosure. He said, I'm very confident, and got on the horse. That's all he said to the connections, and he sure was. It was a huge performance and a great ride by a truly outstanding jockey.
Yeah, it was a good win, very good win. And off to the Cox Plate.
Well, we'll get through the Caulfield Guineas first.
That seems the path, though, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, it's been a very tried and tested path. We saw Animo nearly win the Cox Plate, just headed by State of Rest a couple of years ago, on that Run to the Rose, Golden Rose, Caulfield Guineas, Cox Plate path. Very good, traditional and successful program. But if you could come through the Caulfield Guineas and run well there, then certainly the Cox Plate would be on the table as a discussion.
Let's talk about the Everest now. Think about it, the Premier Stakes today. What's feedback from Joe?
I think Joe's very, very confident. The horse is very happy, very healthy. He's really happy how the horse is progressing, as is Sam Clipperton. He's a horse. We actually raised this horse on our farm. He was bred by the Kolovos family. He was a very immature backward yearling, a very backward horse, and he's just matured into the furnished product now. He looks like a bull now, whereas a big, strong, powerful horse. Whereas he's always been a light, immature horse. So I think the best is yet to come, and he's an untapped horse, and Joe's very confident going into today.
Now, what about Osmosis? Speaking about confident, I did a function with Bjorn Baker this week. He's always on the front foot. He's always on the PR campaign, whether it's about his horses or the All Blacks. What about Osmosis? You're getting some phone calls. What's happening here? Yeah,
there's been a bit of communication with a couple of slot holders in the last 24 hours, and it wouldn't be totally 100 to 1 that he gets a run in the Everest. He's that Gigi Kick type profile. He's unbeaten. He's won 3 from 3. He's had 4 trials, won them all. So essentially, he's competed 7 times and won all 7. His ratings keep improving, and I think he could be the X Factor horse. It's not a certainty he gets a start in the race, but there's certainly some communication with multiple slot holders, so it is possible that he will get a run, and I'd say if he does, he'll run a very cheeky race.
It's not easy to get into this race, only 12 slot holders. You are now one of them. How does it feel you've got one locked in, and think about it, we're now talking about Osmosis, you're in the Everest. How does that feel?
It's amazing to be part of it. I've never seen anything like it anywhere in the world, to have a race that within a certain number of years has become a Grand Slam race. To think that the Everest has gone from a concept to...
We'll have a look at the graphic actually to see who's in there. Then you can continue, Henry. Yeah. We'll have a look at who's there and what's available. Yeah, keep going.
Yeah, well, I think it's amazing, really, that this race is the most talked about race in Australia, where only a number of years ago it was just a concept by Race New South Wales, and the execution's been phenomenal. And what I love about it is, you go to the pub or you talk to the guys, and there's just so much conversation about the race. Obviously, it was a massive blow with the gear kick being pulled out, but it actually was good for the promotion of racing in some capacity, because so many people talked about it, so many news sources picked it up. It's just fantastic.
Oh, yeah. Your brother-in-law, James Harron, has got the Midas touch. He's straight into cylinder.
Well, looking at this field, I wish I win. Think about it. Cylinder, Marzu, Private Eye, Overpass, Buenos Noches and In Secret. That is as it stands right now. Who's the horse to beat there?
I think Peter Moody's horse, he's a master trainer, and I think he'll have him spot on Everest Day. But I must say, I think Cylinder was a great selection by James. The 3-year-olds have a wonderful record, and they run out of their skin in the Everest based on the weight scale and the natural progression that 3-year-olds can make. And and I think he's a great chance as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be a cracker. And it's going to be a great day today. I know we didn't touch on today with you. You've got interest right across the day. Epsom, obviously the 2-year-olds have a good day at Royal Randwick. And we'll look out for that story with Osmosis breaking during the week. Osmosis, ladies and gentlemen, is through to the Everest.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate having me on.
Good on you, buddy. Now, Jules, you were fortunate enough to visit a number of studs in New Zealand, and they were fortunate enough to have you recently. Now, one of those was Rich Hill Stud, nestled in that beautiful Waikato district.
Absolutely stunning. John Thompson and his wife Colleen started Rich Hill almost 30 years ago, and they've come such a long way in that time. Today, they stand New Zealand's newly crowned champion sire, Prazi.
Rich Hill has now been in existence 29 years. We'll have our 30th anniversary next year. Look, we just started off as a small adjustment farm back in 1994. We're in the heart of what we call the fertile Waikato Basin with our lovely volcanic soils, and I think everyone in Australasia knows that the Waikato area is one of the best places in the world to raise a horse. Our temperate climate, we've got a good rainfall, as we're finding out today. Plenty of green grass, and we don't have too many extremes of temperature or anything here, so the horses can thrive all year round. We decided to get into the stallion business a few years after we set up, and fortunately our first stallion we stood was a horse called Pentai. That's many people will know his exploits. He sired 16 Group 1 winners, including household names like Rangi Rangdu, Prince of Penzance, King Mufasa. The list goes on, so he gave us a great foundation to expand and get us to where we are today. I think when you take stallions on, you always have visions of standing champion stallions. That's been one of our goals, and thankfully we achieved that this year with Prazi being crowned champion New Zealand stallion. We've had one champion stallion now, but we'd like to get another one. We're really trying to upgrade the broodmare band now, and we've been buying a few mares, from Australia the last few years, and looking forward to their progeny coming through.
Australians, they know Rich Hill well through Pentai over many years. He had great success in Australia, and now Prazi's captured their attention, and Satono Aladdin. So we've got two of the most commercial stallions in Australasia. We're very proud of Prazi. He's been the upgrader here in New Zealand for a few years. He's now the champion stallion in New Zealand. He's the leading sire of Australasian Group 1 winners, so that's Australia and New Zealand. He had 5 individual Group 1 winners and 8 Group 1 wins between them. Satono Aladdin, well, he's our superstar son of Deep Impact, Japanese Group 1 winner. Very, very rare to get access to a horse like that. And he's really hit the ground running with his progeny. This last season, Satono Aladdin was our leading second season sire and the champion 2-year-old sire. So he's left a number of good horses both in Australia and New Zealand. Well, we all know shocking, he won the Melbourne Cup, he won the Mackay Diva Stakes. As John mentioned, he won the Australian Cup. He's been a favourite in Australasia for many years. He sired 36 stakes horses. He sired superstars. Vadamos, our champion Group 1 winning son of the great Monson. Well, his oldest are just 5-year-olds. So he's a young stallion. He was the leading freshman sire at Karaka of his first year. He was our leading second season sire in New Zealand. Ace High, our dual Group 1 winning son of High Chaparral. Young stallion, his oldest have just turned 3. Ace High's already had his first couple of 3-year-old winners, and there's plenty of people watching Ace High and predicting that he's going to go places.
Now, when you are the best of the best, it takes an extreme attention to detail. We're going to see that with the grand finals today in the AFL and the NRL. That's exactly what it is like at the magical, the majestic Arrowfield Stud.
We do love Arrowfield. No stone is left unturned in every facet of the horse's life and well-being. It's incredible to see, including their hooves, and this starts at a very, very young age.
So Dave, no hoof, no horse, and it starts at a very young age, the looking after of a foal's feet.
We started on the foal's feet here at Arrowfield from about 10 days of age. From 10 days of age, we'll assess the foals for limb deformities. We'll trim them at 10 days of age. If need be a foal to be reassessed for any problems, we'll reassess them in 7 days, but normally it's 14 days. They'll come back in, we'll reassess them, give their fronts another trim.
Why is it so important?
We're in the art of game of selling yearlings, you know, so everyone wants a straight-legged horse.
And a lot of it's got to do with equine welfare, isn't it? If you get the horses going from a young age and their feet looked after, it's going to help going forward.
Oh yeah, it helps. You know, like the last thing you want is horses chipping away, sore feet. You know, everything's sort of maintained to the level where they don't get an opportunity to chip away. It's yearlings. They're done every 4 weeks. Mares are done 5 turning 6. And mares that aren't happy and have sore feet, you really have trouble with fertility, trying to get them in foal. Mare needs to be happy and healthy to go in foal.
So Dave, we saw you doing the extension on the foal there. What are you exactly doing there?
Okay, so that would be like a foal that's unbalanced through the hoof capsule, through the leg. So we're just putting an extension, we're putting it's a plastic shoe back where the foot should be to keep the foal in line with his leg.
It's vital what's done at a young age to help them at every stage of their life.
Oh, very much so. You know, like it's one thing to get them right as a foal. We need to have them right as a yearling. They need to go to the sale. But a horse goes beyond that. He has to go to the racetrack. And like a horse can want to win as many races as he wants, but if he doesn't have the wheels underneath him, and the wheels fall off the show. So we shoot for nice straight legs, and it's the longevity horse we're after. Beyond the race world, you've got to have sound mares to go in foal, and you know it's these mares out here that are pregnant. They're carrying 100 odd kgs extra weight right now. 65% of the weight is up the front end of a horse, so it's so important to have the feet right through the whole time of a horse's life.
So you've been doing this for nearly 40 years. You must reflect on some of those great horses that you've shoed over the years. Vane, Masqué, there's lots of them, isn't there?
Vane, Lunchtime, Bletchley, Masqué were all still alive. When I started into the thoroughbred industry, Biscay was still alive at Beamer Stud where I worked. I remember seeing Biscay covering mares. He was an old horse back then, but been some good horses, some good memories.
You love Arrowfield, you've been here a long time.
Very good people to work for, very good people to work for. Beautiful farm, they don't leave a stone unturned for their horses. Nothing's ever downgraded for the horse. Everything's got to be beneficial for the horse's hoof, and Arrowfield's on top of everything.
And just what about the magic of working in this? It's in your blood. This is what you do, isn't it?
Yeah, it's what I do. I'm 6 generations here in the horse capital of Australia, and I watched my father break in, my grandfather break in, and we've just been a horse family for many years, and now I've got a little 6-year-old girl and a 4-year-old boy, and I've got them on the horses flying around too, so hopefully they'll stay in with us as well.
What a great little story, and the team at Arrowfield busy there as ever. It's looking amazing out there, but that's such a nice little...
Yeah, and a great guy, and look, we always talk about how good Arrowfield is, and from the top down, John Massara, just an absolute legend.
He is a legend indeed. Well, when it comes to this industry, there is nothing more important than a happy horse, and in the foothills of the Blue Mountains, you'll struggle to find a better horse location.
Absolutely. It's the base of AKA Racing. And I went out to have a chat with the owners, Jason and Lucy Adder. They're a married combination. They, like many trainers, have a relationship with the mighty mare Winx. Their pride and joy, Sons of John, was beaten in a photo by Winx in the Theo Marks, and on this day in 2015 came third to Winx in the Epsom. So Jason, Lucy, this partnership of yours, obviously you're married, but as trainers, I don't think there's a more quintessentially based partnership all about the horse.
100%, they're all happy. They're all happy, and the atmosphere here is just outstanding, as you can see. It's quite laid back, and you know, they get to go out and turn out yards every day, and can't make a slow horse fast, but definitely make a lot happy, and yeah, get the best out of them.
It's a different style, isn't it, to the way a lot of people do it, Lucy?
Really different, and we've both come from both sides of the fence, so to speak, but I think we've got a really good balance here, and this environment for them really suits them, and certainly last season the results have spoken for themselves, and they are all, as you can see, really happy here.
There's a real Winks link with you guys, and probably cost you a couple of dollars, Jason. Sons of John here, second by a photo in the Theo Marks.
It was, I think it was nearly the closest second. It would have been the closest second behind Winks in all of her wins, which was pretty cool. And I'm probably half glad he didn't beat her, because we wouldn't want to be those people. But yeah, he ran some pretty gallant races behind her, and he ran third in the Epsom behind Winks when she won that. And yeah, he's done a lot for my career, this horse. He's been good to us, and he's got a forever home here at the farm. He's fat and happy, and does whatever he wants to do.
I've had a good chat with Tim Boland up at his farm, because he broke Winks in, but very early on when she came to Sydney, you were on board. Tell me about that.
I was extremely lucky. I was one of a handful of riders that would partner with her regularly, and I kept some worksheets from my time at Chris's, and yeah, I certainly did some of her early pieces of pacework before she was named. I did course proper gallops on her, so again, I mean, those things probably need to be framed. Solid memories, really solid memories.
What about some of the other horses? Because you've got some really talented horses here. Ruby Flyer.
Yeah, nephew of this guy here. So Ruby Flyer's out of Kellyville Flyer. We've got Lou Flyer. His forms came up pretty well after the change of environment. It's definitely agreed with him, and he's won a few city races for us as well. So yeah, we're pretty lucky.
And there's a horse that I have a certain amount of interest in, because I have a small ownership interest in a horse called Kryptonic. And he's a colt. He's a 3-year-old colt yet to race.
There's a bit of a connection there actually with my time. When we bought the farm, I was still riding work for Godolphin, and whilst I rode at Godolphin, I was lucky enough to ride on occasion Encryption himself, and actually Kryptonic's dam, Laurcelle, was one of my regular rides. So when he was offered for sale at the Magic Millions, I was actually stuck in the UK with COVID, doing isolation with my parents, but had got some astute judges to have a look at him for me. We got him for a really neat price. He's a super little colt, and we've both got fairly high hopes for him and what he's shown us so far. So he'll have a trial probably in the next 6 to 8 weeks, and hopefully we'll get him to the races and
make us all rich and famous.
I share your hopes. I share your hopes. And he's got a good name too, Kryptonic.
It's
a lot of good horses have got good names.
Have to have a good name.
This is a real farm. Everywhere we go, there's a real peacock, there's chickens, there's dogs, there's a donkey, there's a goat. It's all here. And in your spare time, Jason, you do the odd bit of art. I love this horseshoe art. Tell us about it.
Yeah, it's fun. Well, it's sort of my little escape. I just sort of get in my shed and do a little bit of welding, and obviously got an abundance of old horseshoes to use and make use of them. And yeah, I quite enjoy being a bit creative. And
Lucy, even your wedding had horses through the, some great shots. Tell us about the horse link to when, it's a decade ago now, when you guys got married.
We were married at Sydney Polo when they were still doing weddings down there. Fantastic property. It was a most amazing day, and Jason's trick horse Elvis, the old reliable, was very much part of the wedding, and we've got some lovely wedding photos of Elvis doing a party trick and sitting down, lying down with us aboard in our finery. So yeah, Roger came in his bow tie, the little dog, and yeah, it was, makes it really special. They're all part of the family, aren't they?
Why are they so beautiful? You can lean into a horse and feel better. There's all those great lines about the outside of a horse can do wondrous things to the inside of a human.
Yeah.
Can you tell me in your words, Jason?
Look, they're all individuals, and it's hard to explain, I suppose. You just either you have it or you don't, and we definitely have got the love for them. So it's a good thing.
Well, he's coming in. He's coming in for a kiss. You know, he does party tricks as well and laughs on demand. How do you put it into words, Lucy? Could you imagine a life without horses?
No, I really couldn't. And I think you get a soulful connection with them. Some of them are your soulmates. Johnny's certainly one of Jason's soulmates. Boban was one of my soulmates, and you make these connections with them, and with them all. As I say, I feel it's on a really deep level that you have a connection with these animals, and they're the most incredible, intelligent, kind, as Jason said, all individuals.
Welcome back. You're watching Racing Dreams. It's a very big day.
A few tips in there.
Royal Randwick. I was just going to let that slide. Brad Gray joins us now from Epsom Day at Royal Randwick. Good morning, Brad.
Yeah, good morning, guys. That sun is beating down on my back at the moment. So fantastic days racing ahead of us. Epsom Day, what more could you ask for? And it's one of those days where there's just something for everybody as far as the different age groups, the different distances. The Epsom headlines it, but you've got a Met Shop, you've got the babies. We get to see the 2-year-olds for the first time this season. The Jim Crack, the breeders. Think about it. He steps out as he marches towards the Everest, where he finds himself as favourite. So a lot to play out over the next few hours today.
I just read this morning in the paper that you are going in Fashions on the Field, the male model from Miranda. I saw you as lot 3. Is that correct?
Not true. No, that's not true. Don't believe everything you read in the papers. However, I would say if there was a market on that, I think I'd be giving my tip at the end for a roughie as opposed to maybe a best bet. Maybe
what about the Epsom, buddy?
Yeah, what a race this is, isn't it? So $7, $7.50 the field. So many different opinions out there. I'm with the Tasmanian here, the inevitable. I thought he was fantastic first up in the Theo Marks. His time home was slick. I think that gives him a lovely platform. I know you look at his profile and you say, well, he's an 8-year-old. However, I don't think he's ever raced better. He's returned there first up, says as much. He's run at the back end of last preparation in weight for age behind Mr. Brightside. That reads so well for a handicap today. 1,600 metres looks to suit a dry track, and I think he'll get his chance to balance up just forward of midfield. And if he hits the line like he did there first up, he's going to be mighty hard to hold out. There's not a lot of him. He's only a little fella, but he's all ticker, he's all heart.
What about the Metropolitan?
Yeah, I'm swimming with the tide here, so I'm with the favourite just fine. Gabe Waterhouse, Adrian Bott. This is an import that has hit the ground running in Australia. He's only had the 2 runs here. He's been so impressive. He has been dominant. If there's a little query, and just playing devil's advocate for a moment, it is running a strong 2,400 metres, but in that stable, we know he'll be hard fit. He'll be out in front. He'll be doing his thing, and he's going to be mighty hard to chase down. If you're having a Quinella, because a lot of people won't want to take the odds-on quote, throw in Mr. Waterville for Chris Waller. He's a horse that will relish getting out to 2,400 metres. Stamina is no query when it comes to him.
Yeah, it's a great day for the purists today, isn't it? Everywhere you look, fantastic races. The Flight Stakes.
Yeah,
the Darley
Flight Stakes, the Group 1 race for the fillies. Yeah, the Darley Flight Stakes. I'm with Tutor Levita here, so at around double-figure odds. The Magic Man, João Moreira, everything he touches turns to gold at the moment, the Brazilian, and pairs up with Chris Waller here. We've seen them have so much success together in the past. You've only got to look back to last week with Militarised, and she's going to be mighty hard to beat. I love the way that she hit the line over 1,400 metres last start, crying out for 1,600 metres, gets that today. And I think the cherry on top is just how well she maps, so she can settle much closer to the speed. And with that in mind, I think if you're shopping each way at $10, she'll be right there in the finish. I don't think you can go too far wrong.
Brad, in just 2 weeks, Timmy and I will be trackside there with you for the Everest. Today, the Premier Stakes, really it is the last chance for these 4 remaining slot holders to make their move with the Premier Stakes.
Yeah, isn't it amazing, though, Julie, that we're only 2 weeks away and there's still 4 horses yet to be decided. So there's so many moving parts to this puzzle, and even more so this year after we've unfortunately lost Giga Kick and Sunshine in Paris. So something's got to really stand up today and stamp themselves as an Everest horse. Will it be a horse like Hawaii 5-0? Potentially. But as far as the winner in this race and statements go, think about it. His record is phenomenal. So 10 starts, 9 wins. You can't do much more than that. On the strength of his trials this time in, And perhaps the most scary element is that he could even get better. We know that Joe Pride is a notoriously patient trainer. His horses don't tend to peak until they're 5 and 6 years old. So who knows what's ahead for this galloper. If he comes out, makes a statement, wins this race, he'll go to the post as the Everest favourite. Think about it. He is well found. I'm with him. I think he's hard to beat, but the market says as much. I think he's about even money, $2 at the moment.
I can't forget that ding-dong battle with Marzu and Lost and Running. So, look, a lot to play out today. Let's have a look at all your bets and roughies and everything else in between.
Yeah, a few others we haven't touched on just yet. So we've got the best bet comes up in the Dolphify. That's Tom Kitten for Godolphin. We know when these big races roll around, the Blue Army, they click into gear. So James Cummings, I'll have him peaking today. For the mile, if you like him, which I do, I think you're better off waiting. I think you'll get a better price in that last 5-10 minutes of betting. And it was a roughie, but I don't know if you've backed it, Tim, and stepped in and crunched this price, but race 1, well, hopefully we can kick off the day with a winner. Whiskey Wisdom, double figure odds, was bet originally. That's long gone now, but I think she can kick off the day in a winning note there. Whiskey Wisdom, 1,800 metres Midway Company. I like the depth of her form.
Yeah.
Our producer doesn't mind a whiskey, so maybe he'll get on that one.
The wisdom tends to come before you start, though. Look, good to chat. Enjoy the day, and hopefully a few of those will come up.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Look forward to seeing you out here over the next couple of weeks.
All right, thank you, Brad. We'll see you then. And thank you also to our great sponsors. Of course, our show would not be possible without all their support. Timmy, very big weekend of sport.
Oh, it is. Racing, grand finals. Enjoy Epsom Day. It'll be an absolute cracker. And we'll see you next week.
See you next week.